Now, video game difficulty can be a tricky thing. What's easy for one player can be soul-crushingly hard for another, and even when you pick your ideal difficulty at the start, that actually still might not be enough to save you. You see, a game can get harder for any number of reasons, which is exactly what we're here to talk about today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video games that secretly get harder without you realizing. Number 10, not going to the Church of Ella, Elden Ring. Like any Souls game, how you start Elden Ring is vital to your chances of surviving to the end. But unlike previous Souls games, Elden Ring is a full card-carrying open-world title, and so it's very easy to miss a lot of very important things. And one of these things is visiting Merchant Kael at the Church of Ella. Almost every Tips for First-Time Players guide for this game will tell you to make this place one of your first stops upon starting the game. Not only does it have a site of grace to rest and save your progress, but Merchant Kael's inventory includes many items that are vital to any playthrough. This includes a crafting kit, a few recipes to get you started, and a torch. These 3 items are lifesavers for first-time players, and naturally, they're incredibly easy to miss. Like anywhere else in the game, there's nothing specific calling you to that church. You have to make the conscious decision to go there yourself. If you don't, then wherever you went instead just got a whole lot harder. Number 9, not playing the previous games, Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 is the culmination of an entire trilogy's worth of stories, so it's only natural that players who have been on the ride from minute 1 would have some distinct advantages. Like with Mass Effect 2, starting on a pre-made Shepard nets you extra points in either Paragon or Renegade, thus opening up more story options and giving you more opportunities to save everyone, especially when it comes to passing valuable reputation checks early on in the game. This is the only surefire way that you can stop the war between the Geth and the Quarians in a way that doesn't end with Tali or Legion dying. Depending on your choices in 1 and 2, this is also the only way to get the best ending to the Krogan storyline, as Rex, the hands down best character in Mass Effect, and no, I'm not taking questions, is dead in the default world state. The best version of Mass Effect 3 from a story perspective is the one you play after putting in your time with the previous 2, and it's also the best one from a gameplay standpoint because that experience from your save file means more options to get the best ending. Not that it's impossible without doing the extra labor, but man, it is way harder. Number 8, burning money on incremental upgrades, Dragon's Dogma 2. What makes Dragon's Dogma 2 so fun for a certain kind of gamer is just how it will sit back and watch as you absolutely destroy your playthrough. Go on, run through a village full of story-important NPCs while suffering from a highly contagious, deadly virus. I'm sure the neighbours won't mind. This mindset surfaces in super small ways as well, not just in accidentally genociding an entire village on your way to the doctor. For instance, early on in the game, you might feel tempted to spend your hard-earned money on as many incremental upgrades as you can get your hands on. I mean, it's the correct decision in other games such as Borderlands and Destiny, so why wouldn't it be the right move here? Well, unlike many other games, Dragon's Dogma 2 prioritizes player skill over big numbers. So if you try to cheese your way to victory by making your numbers go big, instead of learning the game's mechanics inside out, well, you've just screwed yourself. Now you're getting your ass kicked and you have no money. Nice going. Number 7, killing Andre, Dark Souls. While your decisions don't carry quite the same abysmal consequences as Dragon's Dogma 2, Dark Souls still gives you full reign to screw yourself over. Whether it's choosing a really crap starting item or killing somebody you shouldn't have, you can make your own Dark Souls playthrough as easy or as hard as you want. And on that note, killing Blacksmith Andre is considered by much of the fandom to be a ill-advised move. Andre is a blacksmith that you meet in the Undead Parish who can upgrade your weapons in exchange for Titanite. These upgrades can be truly remarkable, so while it is completely doable to finish the game without them, getting them can make this game so much easier. Needless to say, killing him is not something that most players consider wise. For one thing, you really don't get much out of it compared to what you lose, and secondly, doing so makes the game so much harder than it otherwise could have been. Only the clumsy or trigger-happy player ends up putting down Andre, and they always regret it afterwards, as well they should. Number 6, making CJ fat, GTA San Andreas. GTA San Andreas earned acclaim upon its release for how dynamic its world was, and the way that various activities you could do in the game had impact on the player character CJ. But there's one hilarious instance of this can all but bring your entire playthrough to a screeching halt. You see, you can eat in the restaurants in San Andreas, and if you eat enough food in one sitting, like around 10 or so pizzas at Well-Stacked Pizza, you can actually make CJ gain weight. However, this introduces a new problem. Since this is the mid-2000s where fat shaming was still seen as as a prime example of comedy material, multiple missions become locked off when you're a huskier gentleman. Some even play unique cutscenes where everyone laughs CJ out of the room. Fortunately, the fix is simple. Just wait 48 in-game hours without eating and CJ will slim back down. But that's quite a lot of out-of-game time to faff about waiting for your waistline to reset. Number 5. Shooting the Legion at Nipton, Fallout New Vegas. While Fallout New Vegas retains Fallout 3's karma system, it's made rather redundant by the way more dynamic reputation system, where your actions affect how you're viewed by members of various communities throughout the wasteland, and this system can really screw you over if you're not careful. When you first meet the Legion in Nipton, having just wrapped up their magical murder tour of the city, your first instinct might very well be to just keep the party going. This is especially tempting if you're starting with all the DLC installed and thus have a handy grenade launcher to really clean house before they know what's hit them. However, get ready to have a bad time going forward because this is when the reputation system comes into play. You see, now the Legion knows about you. It knows that they have a psychotic mailman with a grenade launcher wandering around shooting at them, and they will respond in kind, which would be fine if you were in any way leveled and equipped enough, which most likely you are not. So if you'd rather not be in constant danger of being jumped by random heavily armed cosplayers, best to just let this guy and his posse go on their merry way. Number 4. Trying to go for 104%. Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. On its own, Crash 4 is a fun but challenging platformer, giving the player hard but infectiously kinetic levels for them to traverse. The game's central gimmick when it comes to progression is acquiring specific gems, and also gaining gems for completing tasks in a level, like breaking all of the boxes or completing a level without dying. And you get a cool costume waiting for you as the prize. This system, however, makes trying to 100% Crash 4 an actual nightmare. Now, most players accept that trying to 100% a game is going to be more challenging than the vanilla experience, but Crash 4's 100% run is an actual exercise in masochism. Getting 80% of the fruit in every level, an act that nets you 3 gems per level, isn't that hard. No, it's the other 3 gems that will really test your patience. Boxes are hidden in obscure or ludicrous places, which is the same as hidden gems in later levels, and then there's the bane of the bunch, the lives gem. You have to complete each level without dying more than 3 times, which doesn't sound bad on paper, but these levels are long and they are unrelenting. But even after doing all of that, you still have to complete the time trials. The platinum relics, once simply bragging rights with no impact on progression, are now mandatory for getting the best ending. Playing casually, Crash 4 is the most fun game in the franchise, but trying to play it to the coveted 104%, however, well, it is a real pain. Number 3. Not using the knife. Ghosts and Goblins. Now, there's a lot of advice that you can follow to make the original Ghosts and Goblins on the NES a little bit easier on yourself, but chief amongst them is this: get the knife. The angry video game nerd does not lie. The knife is the only thing that deals out the right amount of damage at the right speed to get you through the challenges ahead with any kind of reliability. The other weapons technically work as well, but they just do not compare. The flame weapon's travel arc is just too high to reliably hit anything on the ground. The lance's fire rate doesn't compare to the knife's. The shield weapon, due to an infamous trick on the final level, is the only one you should ever even consider swapping the knife out for. The knife is one of the best weapons in gaming history, if only because it is the only weapon that truly measures up to the obstacles the game puts in front of you. Playing this game without it is like playing on default hard mode. Number 2, not recruiting Leliana and Sten, Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age Origins, like all great RPGs, gives you the tools needed to make the best experience possible, then just sits back and lets you potentially screw it all up without stopping you. The way it's supposed to go when you first reach the opening area of the game is to go to the tavern, pick up Leliana, and she in turn manages to convince the lady in charge of the local Chantry chapter to let Sten go free. But if this is your first time and you go in completely blind, like your humble scribe did way back when, you may not really know the steps to that process. You may only notice Sten and try to free him without Leliana, inevitably becoming frustrated. You may not go to the tavern at all, certainly nothing is pointing you in that direction. You might just grab your other supplies and just be on your way. Thus, Leliana and Sten will die horrible, brutal deaths at the hands of the Darkspawn as they move in to wipe this area off the map, costing you 2 pretty powerful party members. Dragon Age Origins will in no way stop you from doing this or chide you afterward. It will, however, make the game much harder going forward, free of charge. Cheers. And number 1, equipping the skin suit, Stella Blade. Stella Blade knows why you're playing it. Honestly, one of the best things about this game is its all-out honesty with its own sexuality. Like, if you're going to have fan service, don't be ashamed about it, because ironically, that actually makes it worse. With that said, it doesn't mean that you can't have some fun with your horny players. Stella Blade very early on gives you the skin suit, one of the most revealing suits in the game, and that is quite the statement. Obviously, most pervy players will be quick to put the suit on, even if it is just out of sheer curiosity, and this is where the game plays its wonderfully cheeky hand. It won't take long to figure out the drawback of putting on this suit, as the skin suit immediately disables your shield upon equipping it. And how bad is that? Well, have you ever tried playing Borderlands 2 without your shield? Yeah, it's that bad. Stella Blade hangs something obvious right in front of players' eyes and then immediately and hilariously punishes them for taking it by making the game a million times harder. Amazing.